Waiting for the delay to make sure. There we go. All right, guys. We're live. Welcome to the official talk show. Overwatch League is the discussion. We have Dante from the Houston Outlaws, former San Francisco Shock player, and we have Avast, former Boston Uprising support player last season. And of course, we're here with you guys to talk all about the Overwatch League. So what's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm good. Wait, why am I hearing echo? Is it me?
Yeah, who was that?
Was it Dante? I guarantee you it was Dante. But I'm good. I'm good. I was waiting for Dante, who doesn't know the difference between EST and PST, bro.
False news. I know the difference. It's just I forgot about time zones.
Forgot about time zones. All right, guys.
Yeah.
How you doing, Dante?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off. We're just going to discuss Season 1 and pretty much what your guys' experiences was. How was it? Like, what's it like being an Overwatch player for 6-7 months straight?
Dante, you go first, since your experience is more than me.
I thought it was really fun. Practicing with the team every day is super fun because in Season 1, most of the teams, all teams except for Valiant, rented out the practice facility, which is where we played our matches. So you'd just walk around the halls. You would see other teams like Philly players or Boston players. Like I'd always see Avast in the halls, and it was just
I had a lot of time.
Yeah, it was really fun. Going to the player lounge, getting free snacks, just hanging out with everyone, and then going back to scrims, just playing against the people. And I think it kept a healthy environment because if you're gonna see them 5 minutes later, then you're gonna be friends with them. I don't know. That's kind of how it just is.
That's true, yeah. So who were some of your favorite people in the Overwatch League then?
Me?
Yeah, that weren't on San Francisco Shock.
That weren't on Shock? Avast, he's just funny. He's really funny. I think Kalios from Boston was really funny too. He's just really, I don't know. He's a funny guy. I think Space from Valiant, a really good friend of mine. Kareev from Valiant, good friend. Who else? Mostly I would say, I was friends with most of the NA teams because speak the same language. So
yeah,
most NA players like Outlaws, Dallas, and Valiant, I would say I was good friends with all those people because it's just easy when you speak the same language.
true.
It's a little bit harder for the Korean players since there were so many Korean players in the league and you can't really communicate with them as well. So it makes it difficult sometimes.
Awesome. What about you, Avast? How was Season 1 for you?
I would say, it was about pretty similar to Dante's list, honestly. I mean, I got along with pretty much everyone on every team, honestly. As Dante said, I was always in the halls due to my lots of time that I had. And so I had a lot of fraternization with other teams. So Outlaws, pretty much everyone on Outlaws, everyone on Shock, agilities and Space from Valiant. I saw Grim a couple times there too. I actually got along with most of the staff as well. So I think just about every Western player I knew pretty well and got along with really well. It's like Dante said, it was a little bit tougher for Korean players to and some of the Chinese players on Shanghai because you just couldn't speak the same language. So it was a lot tougher to actually even talk to them. Plus I was intimidated by their really fucking expensive clothes.
Oh yeah,
all bought Balenciaga and Gucci shit, and
the Shanghai players were hype beasts.
Yeah, they were all of them. Dante will attest. Literally all the fucking Eastern guys were hype beasts, actually legit hype beasts. They were way out of my price range, so I just was intimidated.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
A blank white T-shirt. And be
yeah, they were spending $500 on fucking Gucci shirts, and I was like, okay, peace.
All right, so how about playing? I know you didn't get too much time, Avast, or any at all, but how about you, Dante? How was it going on that stage, playing in front of the crowd every single day? What did it feel like? What experiences did you cherish the most?
I thought it was really fun. Even after a game Shock, we didn't do too well in stage 1 and 2, so I know what it's like to be on a bottom team. We picked it up a lot in stage 3 and 4 though. We played a lot better. But I know the difficulties and how it might not always go your way, but a lot of times the fans made it a lot easier. After games and stuff, the fans would still be really nice and it could just brighten up for me at least. I know not everyone's the same, but it was it made it easier for me.
I'd say San Francisco definitely had a lot of fans. They were one of the more popular teams there, being based in California. What about being on Boston Avast? How was it with the fans? Did you guys get a lot of fans in there?
I would say out of all the teams, we probably had, besides maybe Florida, we had like the least actual fan interaction at the arena. But that's just because for a lot of different reasons. But we actually had like a really dedicated fan community. Like it was like the Boston sports culture, like
Yeah.
really lended itself like really really heavily to like having really super dedicated fans. Also, as an aside, because someone added me on Twitter, just say Avast, Michael. Just you're saying Avast.
I know.
Avast. You're getting the ZP. Like ZP's got like the 18th century like aristocracy shit. Where he's like Avast. Like, and you're going Avast. Just say Avast. Just
Avast.
There we
I
go.
got
Yeah,
you, man.
perfect.
I got you. Avast.
Because people keep on like pointing that out. But yeah, it was there was a lot of really dedicated like fans, I would say, and we had like a lot of when we went to Boston. And when the few people that did show up to the arena, they always had like stuff to give us. Like I have like 3 banners somewhere and like a poorly done drawing of me that was obviously badly done. It was done badly on purpose, but I'd have to go find it. But yeah, they was really great to have the Boston fans. Actually, that was probably the best part of like the team in a lot of ways was how good the fans are.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask you about season 1, going in, Boston wasn't really getting that much hype. A lot of people thought they would be one of the worst teams in the league. Personally, I thought you guys would be decent. You had some players here and there. I expected you to get a lot of starting time. How did you feel going into season 1?
I mean, it was an interesting experience for me because we had just come out. For me myself personally, it was like LG Evil had just we didn't make season 1 contenders. We got to like playoffs for season 0, and then we just pretty much flamed out. We lost to you guys one of our matches.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us had like kind of outlooks, even though we had been pretty dominant for a while or been part of the scene for a while. Like since we weren't relevant exactly at that time, it was tough for us to get a lot of transfer. Overwatch League, I only got 3. Jake only got like 1 actually until Houston picked him up.
Wow.
Even though he was on World Cup, and then Super was like immediately picked up for San Francisco Shock because he's a lucky bitch. So don't even try out. So yeah, and so but it was interesting. I tried out for actually a really really long time for Boston. It was like after the London dropped all their Western tryouts and went Korean, and picked up Kongdu and GC Busan. It was just Boston, and I tried out for like 3 months. And during like halfway through, they had already picked up Kellex, and I was like, okay, well I guess I'm gonna play contenders, right? Like I was gonna go back and like no, keep trying out. And I was like, okay, interesting, I guess. And then I did, and then I got picked up, and I wasn't really expecting the exact situation that happened to happen to me. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was still like good to be in the league, and it was like nice for me to like continue going forward. But it definitely wasn't exactly what I expected because I expected at least like a 30, at the very least, like a 30 to 40% playing time like split, but it just didn't end up happening that way. So,
do you feel like you got a fair shot to like earn the spot ever at all?
I think it's tough to say because Boston, I mean, pretty much Boston, how their setup worked is like they selected 6 starters and they practiced full time, and they never did any substitutions at all, really. And that was even in the beginning. Like after the tryouts and I got signed, I was playing for a bit in preseason, like when Mercy meta was just happening and just now starting, and all the Lucio players were having to learn that if they weren't already good at Lucio, they had to play like Mercy a lot. And I felt pretty confident. I thought I was doing well, but then they were still trying to figure out exactly what they wanted, and then they kept on subbing in Kellex because they wanted to try him out, right? And also Snow, because let's forget Snow was also there, and they picked up Snow explicitly. Actually, what a lot of people don't understand, Snow, a large part of the reason why he's picked up was because they really liked his Mercy play, and so he was getting subbed in there. So it was like us 3 trying to find like a balance of like who to play Mercy, and then they like essentially stopped playing Snow and me entirely and just kept subbing in Kellex until eventually it was like, yeah, well, Kellex has just gotten so much play time and like we really like him that like you're just done. And so after that, like pretty much if you were a sub, you never got a chance to play again, like ever. So I wouldn't say it was entirely unfair, but I will say that it was a very much not good to be a sub on Boston, and it was a very unfortunate situation overall and I do want to mention, I want to touch upon this because I said it's like there's a reason why teams like London got rid of a lot of their players, even though they had a 12-man roster, even though you had the potential to run like in-house scrims and have a lot of flexibility, because realistically, it's really, really tough to juggle a lot of players on a roster and sub them in and out, especially for Overwatch League Season 1 where the match pace was so hectic. It was really, really, really tough to bring people in and out and like sort of tailor them to how you want to do it. And also the staff in Overwatch League, I wouldn't say like they're universally bad by any means, but like not all of them have the skills or even just or the teams don't have enough staff to manage that many people effectively and bring them in and out and try to actually make the practice worthwhile instead of just where it's just way easier to focus on 6 people and only practice those 6 people. And that's sort of what happened with Boston. Where they said, well, we're not even going to try to because we'd rather just pick 6 people and just focus on them the entire time. So I think it was unfortunate for myself and like players like Snow and Kalios and stuff like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it did bring moderate success. I was a pretty good success, and it was just a different way of doing it.
Yeah. Then let's transition a little bit into Dante then, since you did play on the San Francisco Shock, and they did a decent amount of subbing throughout the season. You got your play time, and you also got your time there on the bench. How was it for you?
First stage was a really good learning experience for most of the people on our team. I think we all learned a lot from that. So stage 1 was kind of like getting it all together because I don't think anyone has like on that team was ever in a league like that before. Like no one was in Apex, no one did any of that like big tournament stuff. But stage 2 is when like I got really comfortable. I started playing like really well, and then like stage 3 hit, and then me and Sinatra could both play, and everyone was just assuming that Sinatra would just play over me, which kind of did happen in stage 4. But stage 3, I split most playtime with Sinatra. Unfortunately, I think Baby Bay got benched in stage 3, but he ended up playing again stage 4, so I'm happy for that. Architect came to our team in stage 3, so he was basically perma playing in stage 3, and he's a really good player, so I'm happy for that as well. Stage 4, I got benched, but I think it was like a good way to get benched, kind of, because like I was still getting scrim time with the team. Like I'd play. We had our map pool for the week, and then I would play whatever maps the other team wanted to play that we didn't have. So like I would still get practice, but it wasn't on like the week's maps. So it was like a good way that Krusty had it like done. That's how me and Nevix would still practice, even though we were benched on the team. We would still get our practice. So I'm thankful for that. And also, I'm thankful I got benched on like a good note. Like I had a really good stage 3 and 2, so um, like it was just good that I got benched, but it was kind of bad at the same time. But it's better than like if I were to be on Shock and then be benched a full season, because that's ultimately like way worse for my career.
Yeah.
Like if I were to be benched for season 2, like that would have been really bad for me.
So as Avast mentioned, like London Spitfire, they reduced their roster like halfway into the season. They end up winning the championship. Boston Uprising also have a very small roster. They go pretty deep. Do you think the subbing kind of is something that should be implemented, or do you think it's sticking with like a 6-man roster is a little bit better?
Dante, you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. I would say it's like super dependent on the staff. Like I said earlier, it's some staff are really good at managing a lot of players, or more players at least. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to be perfect, and because everyone's going to have ego clash realistically at the end of the day and how much playtime they want, you're not always going to. It's not always going to be a perfect scenario with subs. And a lot of teams have figured out that it's like much more efficient to have a rotating DPS line rather than a rotating tank and support line, because like essentially the backbone of your team are those, and you want a very consistent players, a very consistent theme. So I personally think that there's no downside to having more people because it will only just give you more subs, but it will definitely help. It can definitely hurt your team environment because there'll be people that are like unhappy they're not playing as much or unhappy they're not playing at all. So I think like a very good middle ground is trying to get around like 10 people generally for a roster instead of 12, like 9 to 10, and you just have like a rotating DPS line and then maybe like a sub or two. And or better, now that they have two-way contracts, you have a two-way contract player so you can develop them and use them as a sub or a couple times in some matches and then see what their performance is like at the end of the season and bring them up. Because I think that's like a much better method than having like designated subs, because all it does is cost an org a bunch of money, because you have a full-time player that's essentially not going to be playing, while you could have someone that's be playing in contenders and could still play in Overwatch League and scrim with your team, and you could develop them if you're not like sure on them and bring them up. So I think about 10 players is like the sweet spot.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is a good way to look at the two-way contracts, being able to test somebody out, test the water, see if they are Overwatch League material. What about you, Dante?
I think it's really hard, like Avast said, to sub out your tank players and your support players. Like very rarely I see it happen. Like the only main tank that was really subbed in and out was Mono and Yanis on KINGmykL, and like even then I'd imagine that there were like it was just like different for them. Like it probably wasn't worth it. Like they're both really good players and they could both like succeed, but in the end, like I think Yanis going to DC is like really good for him because he'll get full play time. He'll get to become like even better. Because I think like Mono maybe got like 70% and Giannis had like 30%. Whereas like if they both got 100%, they both could have been like better. So I think it's really hard to cycle tank lines and support lines. But DPS, it's really easy to cycle because there's like a lot of different roles for DPS. Like there's so many DPS heroes, and like you really got to grind to be the best at the roles you play. Like it's hard to find players that can play every role, and there's a few of them like Libero, Prophet, EQO. Like there's some really good flex players, but it's hard to find players like that because it's just not easy to learn every role.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess talking a little bit about Giannis and DC, we can go ahead and transition here. And real quick, before we get into that, I do want to say thank you very much to BeLive TV helping us put together this show. Really awesome program. If you guys want to check them out, go to BeLive.tv. But transitioning now into the off season, as we mentioned, DC, it's been a wild one. There's been some big trades, big moves. We got Dante here who's been swapping teams. How does it feel being a player going into another team? Not very many Overwatch League players have experienced that yet.
Not just any team, Dante. I want you to put it in the context, the golden goose of Overwatch League, Houston Outlaws.
True.
At first, it felt really weird because I've been living with Shock. Like I lived with Shock for like 10 months, so it was like really weird leaving at first. And like I'm best friends with everyone on the team, so it was kind of sad at first. But I'm like starting to feel more on the team with Houston now that we started scrimming, living with them. So we're in apartments, but like living in an apartment complex with them, like getting food with them, it's just starting to get easier and easier to like ease into it. And yeah,
I know we can't really talk too much about your team and like who's playing and what, but give us some inside juice about who's the funny guys on the team. Who do you like being around with on the Houston Outlaws?
Okay. I like Spree a lot. He's my roommate. He's like really stupid, like Super. Me and Super.
Oh man,
true, very true.
Me and Super were like the really stupid duo on Shock. We roomed together and like we just were always like being dumb and yeah, I think it was really funny. Like I just enjoy being around people that make me laugh because I think laughing's like just really enjoyable. And yeah, Jake he talks a lot. Like I'm sure everyone knows this, but he talks a lot. Avast definitely knows this. But yeah, Jake, he's good with words. He talks a lot. Raucus is like the hype beast of the team, like always buying expensive stuff. Yeah, just has a lot of money, spends a lot of money. Bonnie is like the really smart guy of the team. Like I think he went through college and yeah, he's just really smart. Boink is like the team dad, I would say. He's like really good at managing people and like being nice and yeah, all that stuff.
He's also Midwestern as fuck.
Yeah.
He's so Midwestern.
Yes. Who else should I talk about? Muma, I've been doing with him a lot and like I kind of feel bad for like how people see him after the World Cup because like in Goats comp, like when Houston first started scrimming, like we got rolled like the first like couple blocks because like I had no idea what I was doing. Everyone's coming from different World Cups teams, so like they like had their own views on things. Like nobody's like really played together for so long, so like it just felt like so helpless on like whether I played Brig or Zarya. Like I felt like I couldn't do anything, and that's kind of how a lot of the Team USA World Cup players felt like they just got outplayed as a whole. So it made a few of them look really bad. So I kind of feel bad for that. But he's been owning lately, so happy for that. Who else do I need to talk about? I think I talked about most people. So
yeah, I think you hit them all. All right, so that's cool. So about the offseason now, we have had some other big trades. What's some of your guys' most exciting moves or most exciting teams coming in so far?
I really
Do you want me
like.
to go? Yeah, you go, Dante.
I like Huangzhou. Or wait, is that the one?
I think it's Hangzhou. Yeah, Hangzhou.
Okay,
Hangzhou Spark.
Hangzhou. Is that how you say it? Chat, enlighten us.
I have no fucking clue. So
Okay, but yeah, I really like their colors. Like the pink actually looks so nice. And then what else? I think Toronto has like potential to be really good, but I'm not sure how they will do because I've heard from a lot of different people that players on that team have like attitude problems, but that could be because they were in like a Western environment. So Like maybe if they have a full Korean team, it could be a different story. Like I know Rascal had problems on Fuel, but on NRG and Shock, he's been really good. So I think it just depends on like how the team like meshes. So they could be like I think they have a lot of really good talent. The only thing that could be bad for them is the attitude, but um, I'm not too sure about Paris. I think they will either be really good or really bad. I like EU. I don't know much about the region, but like I just have a feeling they'll either be like really good or really bad. I don't know. Like that's just my feeling.
I think I agree with that.
I think Soon is like insane player. I think Shadowburn's good, flexible, but I don't really know the rest of them, and that kind of worries me because like I just don't follow EU contenders at all. So who knows if they picked up the right players or the wrong players? Like it just depends. What else?
What do you think about Washington D.C. so far? I know that's a big one.
Did you leak their players? Can we talk about their assumed?
Oh, that's right. They're not official. That's right. Okay, we won't talk about Washington D.C. We'll go to move on to another team.
Okay.
What do you think of Avast so far about the teams that have been announced?
I think the Chinese teams are interesting because it's gonna be the first time you see. It actually way outside my expectations because I didn't expect any foreign teams or predominantly like Korean Chinese teams to pick up Western players at all. And now we see Kib and Nero for Guangzhou. And though Nero can't even play until like stage 4, so I don't even know if we'll see him. And then you have supposedly for Chengdu, I believe you have Silk and Beast. I don't know if they've been officially announced. I don't know.
Yeah, those are rumors floating around. Yeah.
Those are rumors. Yeah. Well, supposedly. But so there's.
I definitely heard that Silk thread is
there's
going to be on that roster
for 4 Western players or so to be on like Chinese teams on top of like a whole some not new, but some Chinese talent that wasn't in Overwatch League Season 1 and also a lot of new Korean talent. So I think the new Chinese expanded teams will be really interesting. Though I've also have a feeling that they're gonna run into a lot of issues with their Western players because it's sort of what happened with Shanghai this year, where you have a mix of Korean and Chinese, and the Koreans don't speak Mandarin and the Chinese don't speak Korean. So then they tried to use English as an intermediate language, which neither one of them spoke.
Oh.
So it was a fucking disaster.
Yeah,
so
that sounds tough.
I don't know exactly I don't know if their plan is, since they have a few amount of Western players, to just teach them Mandarin or to just teach them Korean, because they're still going to be Korean players. So I have no clue like what their plans are communication wise for those teams, which is like a huge aspect. And then even though we can't talk about DC, I still think DC potentially with the rosters is real. I think it could be really interesting, really cool.
I think it's a hit or miss roster.
Yeah, it depends entirely off of one particular player, I think, who starts with a C. And I think it depends entirely off of how hard he pops off.
I think he'll hard carry. I think he will.
This unnamed player that starts with a C. The unnamed player that starts with a C that ends in Ori, potentially. Corey, I think is his name. I'm not sure, but he is, in my opinion, I think he is the best. He was 100% the best NA hitscan player in contenders without a doubt, but he's like potentially viable for like the best NA hitscan player like currently. Like when he's on. Like when he's like pure on. Like when he's hitting his shots on Widow and McCree, he's like disgusting. Like actually disgusting. He's so fucking good.
I actually think he should have made the World Cup team. Either in place of me or Zach, because like in tryouts he just actually like owned. He played so well the whole time. And like
interesting.
I was just really impressed by it was just
I think Corey could actually be the huge difference maker for that team. I think like they have a relatively solid, decent-ish everything, and like if Wizard is like if he really is that good, like I know he's pretty good comparatively, but if he really is as good as everyone says he is, then if Corey pops off, then I think that team will be really good. Okay. Supposedly, if Corey's in the team, I'm saying if he's there, I don't know.
Yeah, of course, supposedly.
I don't know if he's there.
Okay, so we're getting a lot of spam in the chat about Dafran since we're talking about hit scans and new teams coming up. What is your guys' opinion on Dafran coming into the next season?
I'll let Avast go first because I know his opinion isn't
I don't like
the same as mine.
It's not the same. It's definitely not. I mean, Dafran was like the best before Corey now, and like 100. Well, I guess he's not NA, so like, but pre Overwatch League, I would have said Dafran was the best Western hit scan player, if not potentially the best hit scan player in the world. Like just like if not DPS even, maybe not projectile, but like he's still pretty flexible.
Yeah.
And even though, but the thing is that the meta's not the same anymore. He can't two trick soldier or tracer. It's just not possible anymore. And teams have evolved, like especially the tank line have evolved, like where the ability to just sit on high ground has been punished like a lot more than it used to be. Because like back when Selfless was super super dominant, the friend would just sit on high ground and beam you from the fucking stratosphere. And since everyone was bad, they would be like, "What do we do? The soldier's on high ground," and they would just run away. And so I think now what people aren't that bad anymore. Like they've evolved like a lot, especially after this first season. And since Soldier and Tracer aren't like too trickable, that's really his hero pool is like more limited. Though I still think he is still more flexible than he's let on. But more importantly than all of that, his mentality is like a giant thing in Overwatch League. Like so many teams, it wasn't necessarily super public, but like for a lot of teams, including Boston, including Valiant, including all sorts of teams that you wouldn't expect. Even Houston, like mentality was like, and being in a bad mental state or having like a poor performance or whatever and a bad turnaround, like just it is like one of the biggest factors in performance. And there's nothing wrong with having a mental illness. Like there's nothing wrong. There's plenty of people that function perfectly normal. But if you're in a situation where you might not have the support you need, and it's a very stressful environment, like the Fran is, where he has a history of things like that, it would be really tough to have someone that could potentially be unreliable in that situation. And I think Brad has a very high opinion of him because of how hard he carried Selfless. Brad being the head coach of Atlanta, obviously,
Yeah.
Selfless Brad. But I don't necessarily know if he is up to the task of making sure that DeFran is in the mental state that he needs to be to play for like a whole season, especially when you're going to be losing a lot. Realistically, you will lose a lot more this season than you would the first season because the talent is more spread and there should be more people losing and not just dominating. So they're going to have to deal with losses and potentially maybe not being very good or potentially like doing really good and then losing. Like, and that just adds extra mental like taxation to it.
I think like what you were saying, how different like two trick like Soldier Tracer. I kind of disagree. I think he's like really a fast learner. Like just looking at like his stream, even when he just plays like another hero for a really short time, like you can just tell that he'd be able to learn heroes really quick. And another thing that I want to reference is remember I don't remember what tournament it was, but on Ilios,
Yes, I know exactly what you're about to say.
yeah, Selfless versus LG Evil. Selfless was about to lose, and then DeFran just randomly goes fair out of nowhere. Never played fair in his life, but then 1v2s Jake and Rob Pharaoh Mercy. And I think he's just like really talented and can learn basically anything if he puts his mind to
Yeah,
it.
I think he's more flexible than he's let on, but at the end of the day, it's still, I would say he's probably more comfortable towards like hit scan heroes than he is projectile. And also, it's still, like I said, the bigger thing, I think, more than his talent, because his talent is there. I think he can play stuff. It's just his mental like flexibility and his capacity to like not tilt and not like have a bad day. And if he has a bad day, it could really be bad. And so I don't know if Brad is up to the task of like ensuring that he will be functional within a high stress team environment.
Yeah. I think I think we all know DeFran has one of the highest skill ceilings in all of Overwatch. You know, if he's feeling it, he's really going to pop off. As Dante just mentioned, that Pharah, I remember that. It was Ilios. That was crazy. But he definitely has that skill ceiling. But also, Avast, you have a really good point with the mentality thing. If he does have a bad day or 2 bad days, it could end up snowballing into the whole season, right? And that's something that a lot of Overwatch League players had to deal with last season was slumps and how to get out of slumps. And if you don't have the right mental support from your Overwatch League team, you're not going to get out of it, right? So it's a big question. I think that's the number one concern for Atlanta, making sure they have the support for the players, specifically like DeFran. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some other big trades that happened. We have Fisher going over to Seoul Dynasty, Shadowburn soon. What do you guys think about all those trades? Do you think they're beneficial?
Dante, you go first.
I think Paris having Shadowburn soon, it gives them like a solid DPS core. And I think it gives them a lot of knowledge because one thing that season 1 Owl players have is knowledge. I think it's like it's really good to have for your team. It's just like there was so much that you like learned from coaching and stuff in season 1 that you like naturally do that other players on your team might not do that you can just teach them. That I think it just helps a lot, and like it'll probably show. Like
Yeah.
Spoon was able to practice Widow for like the whole season for Valiant, so I think he'll always be a strong Widowmaker rather than some contenders player coming in like could be like a complete hit or miss on Widow. Like you really never know. Widow's such a streaky hero, and takes so much practice. So
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Go
No,
ahead,
I guess
Avast.
I'm gonna go. Oh, yeah. So I think Soon is like anywhere you put him, he'll be really good. I think like it doesn't matter where you put him on any team, he'll be like unless it's like he's replacing someone of a similar role like Surefour or whatever. Like he's not just a straight upper, but like he's so experienced like overall as a player, and he's so especially now that he grinded Widowmaker really hard. I think he's like really a lot more consistent on Widow and like really good on those heroes. And he's like a veteran player, so he just helps like anchor team mentality. But I'm still hit or miss about Shadowburn. I know Shadowburn like has a giant fan base, and I know he's really really good on projectile heroes. But Overwatch League has shown that you need to like evolve, like especially if you're playing like a flex DPS. And the problem with Shadowburn is that he was never necessarily super flexible. It was like, do you want a Genji or do you want a Pharah? I could play either of those, and then if you ever need me to play anything else, well then let me just like sub me out, like get me out of here. And also the other thing that Shadowburn has that a lot of people don't really understand about him that is a little bit interesting in a team environment is that he's not very vocal, like at all. He's not a vocal guy. He's been working on it a lot. Like if you've seen his streams, his few streams that he's had, or like seen him on Rank Ladder and other people's plays, he's been trying really hard to calm. And a big part of the reason is because Eco was very, very vocal, and he was able to lead a team. While Shadow is like, I'm gonna sit here and farm Blade. I'm gonna get 6 kills, but I'm not gonna let you know when I do it. And it's like really tough to work around someone, especially in a dive setting where your Genji is like a leader a lot of the times for like your dives. It's really tough to work around a player like that. And it's not that he's bad, and it's not that he's not good. It's just that he doesn't use his mouth, and that's like it can be really tough to work around a player like that. So I'm interested to see how Shadowburn evolves for Paris because I don't know if he's actually going to be like what they need, or if he's just going to be like another player that has like great DM but isn't necessarily leading them to like to really get wins they need against really good teams.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point what we were talking about earlier. The season 1 players having an advantage going into season 2 over the players and new teams that haven't really been there yet because they don't know what to experience. So do you guys think there might be a little bump for all those new teams and players coming in? Do you think they'll slump or have a hard time adjusting in the first couple stages?
I think season 1 teams will always have an advantage over the expansion teams, like in the beginning at least, like stage 1, because it's like a big experience for a lot of the contenders players that are like moving up. Like I know for me, I wasn't like fully in the groove till at least stage 2, so yeah, it's just gonna be hard, and then maybe the schedule will be like stressful for players. So I think it just depends on the players. Everyone's different. Everyone like has a different mental. Everyone just I don't know. Everyone's just different. Everyone takes in
Yeah.
stuff differently. So it just depends on how the players manage themselves.
Yeah,
And
I can agree with that.
coaches as well.
I think that like expansion teams might be coming in like a step behind existing teams in terms of like how you approach like player structure and the team. Because like I said, mentality is a really big thing, and like burning out is a really big thing. And like when you lose a lot and you have to win after losing a lot, it's like a really taxing on players. So it really just depends on a lot. It depends on how players individually handle it, but it also depends on how staff adapt for these new teams. Because like you see some veteran staff like Wizard going to DC, and Brad was also a shock going to Atlanta. Um, but I still think they might be. But also they're coming in and like the schedule's been adjusted, right? Season 1 was like a clusterfuck. Like you had games all the time. You had essentially 3 days of turnaround between when your game started again to practice and try something new. And like that's a part of the reason why it was so like taxing for a lot of teams because you were just like, I play 2 games, then I have 3 days, and then I play another 2 games. And now it's like been spaced out where it's looking closer. You play like what is it like a game a week, Dante? I think it's like closer
Yeah,
to that.
anywhere from 0 to 2 games a week. So maybe one week you'll have no games, but then the next week you'll have 2 games. So
Okay, so you might have off weeks or something.
yeah, that might be like
So or you might just have 1 game a week. So like they've adjusted it to where it's not as taxing, I guess. Because when you add more teams, you're able to spread out the games also as well a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think they have an advantage in that respect coming in. They don't have to just like pound their fucking heads against the wall against the schedule, but they also will have to still adjust where other players that are veterans have already adjusted to the lifestyle. And even though I've already mentioned it, I still think like strength of staff is going to be really huge at how, not necessarily in how you coach players in terms of like how like making them a better player, but making sure they don't fall apart during the season, because these are all like, it's just like a tough schedule and you're going to lose and you're going to have to get used to like losing potentially. So,
Okay. So going into the next season, this is the last question before we transition into the next part. I want to know, what player do you guys think is going to be like the biggest impact player? So last season we had EQO, Profit. They were pretty big shock players. Who do you think coming into the next season might be able to have the same effect?
Dante, I see you go first on this.
I think the rumored player Corey will be very good. I think Daka for Atlanta Reign, or like I'm talking about expansion players right now, but I think Daka from Atlanta Reign could be really good as well. So Daka, Corey. I heard that Shu is really good. The flex support player. I don't know what team he's on, but I heard from contenders players that he was like insane. I also heard that Juan J Lee, the flex support player, is really good, but I don't think he can play till mid-season. I'm not too sure when he can play, but I heard those players will be really good.
Okay. What about you, Vest?
I think Roar for Glad is going to be really good, because I think Remix, he got shafted honestly in a lot of ways last season in Glad, but like it's definitely true that he wasn't necessarily up to the same level as Fissure, or that Fissure always was, and Fissure did help them out a lot. And I think he's like he's going back to contenders this season. I think you'll be able to get a better view of him then and see how much he's improved and changed. But Roar is like really good, and I think Roar is also hopefully not a fucking diva like Fissure is, so like the team won't fall apart. Yeah, Dante, I see you moving your eyes. I'm calling out Fissure. That's right. The guy's a fucking diva. Get over it. And so,
oh, man.
and so the and I think that Roar hopefully will be like will be just as strong, but will bring also a much better teammate aspect to it. I think Closer for Dallas is actually a really big pickup, because Closer is actually really good, and Harry's tough to like place on the spectrum there, because he was like really good at Lucio back when Lucio was like, I don't know, it was a lot more like, especially in Envy style, where they were just so much better than everyone else that Harry didn't really necessarily have to do anything. Not that Harry didn't do anything, but Harry, he was like, I don't think he's necessarily evolved his play to the on main support, at least to where Closer's at. But like Harry does have the added benefit of being more flexible, because I think he has like a better DM ability, because I know we've seen him on Soldier in the past and he's like really good. But I think Closer is really solid for Dallas. I think he'll make actually a really big impact. I think RCK for Dallas as well will be huge. I think he'll be, because they really need a diva player. They need a diva player and they need a Zarya player, and RCK does both. And they help complete like not complete, but they also get like another Finn in there to really bounce off Taimu's like raging idiocy, to like really just like bring them together. So I think it'll be like really solid. And then I also think that we said Corey, supposedly Corey for DC. I think that I actually think that Beast Halo for Chengdu, if he really pops off, or doesn't pop off, but if he finds a place in the team and is able to communicate properly, I actually think he'll do really well, because Beast Halo had two really good seasons with Fusion, and he's like improved a lot as a player. So I think he could do really well. I mean, obviously Gook Shui, or however the hell you say his name, is like showed a really good.
I believe it's Gojue.
Gouche. I don't know.
Gouche, something like that. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm sorry, Chinese people. I'm too white to pronounce his name. So I think that he will do really well, and I think also as a final note, I think Boston adding Blase is potentially like a huge pickup, because Blase was also, I think he has a lot of flexibility, and he's also really strong with like characters that are, well, I guess they're not so strong anymore, but he was strong with Doomfist, which won't be as relevant anymore necessarily.
I see a lot of people saying Decay in chat. I think Decay is a good player, but I think people are also forgetting that Hydration is a really good player. Hydration and Surefour are really good. Everyone's like, oh, they paid 300k for Decay. He's gonna start no matter what every game. But I don't think that'll be the case. I'm sure they're gonna cycle their DPS. I don't know. Hydration and Surefour are just like, I think they're really good parts of that team. Like they're really good, strong players. And then you also have to remember that people are gonna be like, oh, they paid 300K, like 300K. That's a lot of money. They're gonna have to start him, but I don't think that's the case at all because they paid for Silk Thread. Like they bought him from Valiant, but you didn't really see him play at all, and like they paid, like they bought him out from Valiant. So I'm not saying that Decay's gonna be benched, but I'm just saying like they're gonna probably cycle their DPS. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, and Glad is really good at cycling DPS. They were like probably the
Yeah.
best, one of the best teams at doing it because like DPay, you know, he may have checked a couple shoulders, but he's really good at coaching. He's like really good at coaching. Like actually, I think he's like I think he's one of the best. And so I think Decay. I mean, I hope they get use out of him since they're paying him so much. They paid so much fucking money for him. So like obviously they should try to use him, and he does have more flexibility than Hydration does, I think. But I don't necessarily think he's inherently better than Hydration, especially when he has the especially when Hydration and Surefour are sort of used to working together. So I don't necessarily know exactly how straight of an upgrade he is, but I do think he's really good. Also, I forgot to mention Violet for Shock. I think is like a really good pickup. Oh, and also Dante for Houston, I think is actually big as fuck. Like actually big as fuck because they needed Dante. So I actually think that those players as well are going to be really big to look out for.
Yeah, I've been saying it a lot. As soon as Houston Outlaws picked up Dante, they completed what they needed in Season 1. It was a little late, but they finally got that Tracer player. They did it, boys. All right, so I guess this is a good time now to transition into the next part of the show, guys, which we are going to be bringing some of you guys on, the viewers, which we already have a few lined up. If you guys want an opportunity of coming on here and talking to Danteh Avast, myself, or whoever the guests are next week, all you have to do is follow my Twitter, follow my YouTube channel. I drop random questions, and it gives you guys an opportunity to, come on here and ask me questions. So here comes our first guy. We have Bob coming on here. He'll be coming on in a couple seconds as soon as it loads up.
Bob,
yes, it's Bob.
Oh,
Bob, can you hear us?
Hey, Danteh Avast, Michael. I'm Bob.
How's it going?
South Korean, living in Southern Africa, and I have 250 ping consistently. So my questions are, what are other ways of improving the game in a game sense besides grinding scrims or reviewing gameplay?
Dante, you go first.
I think watching people to learn from them is really good. I don't know if you consider that like did you say watching your own gameplay? I'm sorry, but like that's what I think you said. But I definitely whenever I want to learn a new hero or learn something from someone, like for example, it's like agilities. Like right now, he's a really good Doomfist, so I like to watch his stream in my spare times rather than watching like maybe someone I like a bit more, like Space. Like I'm best friends with Space, but I think watching agilities play Doomfist might help me because maybe I can learn something from him. Or watching like EQO play Hanzo, like a really good Hanzo, there's stuff I can learn from him. And I think just learning stuff from streamers that play your role is really good.
Yeah, I agree with Dante.
Right. Thank you. And my second question is, in your opinion, would I be valuable to any Overwatch League teams if I was at an Overwatch League level, since I'm fluent in both English and Korean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
absolutely.
Really players like that, like Bishu, like he was really good at I wasn't on the team, but from what I've heard, like he was really good at helping both Fisher and Asher, like with dives and stuff. Like you could just communicate to the back line and the front line, and like Asher and Fisher could talk in Korean, like with their diving and stuff, and then like he could tell Shaz and Big Goose like in the back line what's going on, and it just like it's really good to have someone like that.
Yeah, having someone like that is like gigantic because you're
right.
you're always gonna have lots of mixed.
Right, that's all from me. Good luck with your podcast and stuff like that, and good luck in season 2.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, do something. That's
Bob.
the chat spamming.
Bob.
All right, that was awesome. So that was our first guest. Again, guys, if you do want an opportunity coming on here, be sure to follow BeLive. It is brought to you by them. Amazing program. Let's go ahead and bring on the next guest. We have a guy named Ghost. His webcam's a little scuffed, so we won't be able to see him, but we got a pretty image to look at. What's up, Ghost? How you doing? Welcome.
What the fuck? What is that? Is that the webcam? Is that
it's a broken webcam.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So my first question is, what are your view on Owl's treatment of XQC?
I want to answer this, Dante.
Okay.
I want to answer this.
Okay.
I want to because it's a lot of idiocy surrounding everyone in XQC. So XQC, I think, had an unfortunate situation happen to him where he got since he has a very special brand of Twitch culture with him, and that he can only communicate directly via Twitch memes in real life, and that's like the only way to deal with him. That
Yeah.
it's tough to separate the Twitch culture from the human being sometimes, and obviously Twitch culture is not what Blizzard wants for Overwatch League a lot of times.
Mhm.
And he did need some guidance to help with his communication, and he needed to just stop fucking streaming when bad things happened, so he wouldn't just
Yeah.
like throw himself more into the fire. And I would say there were players that did much worse than him that didn't get in trouble nearly to the same extent. But at the end of the day, I would say it wasn't completely unwarranted. It was like, and he could have continued if he wanted to. He was never banned from Overwatch League. Dallas just dropped him. He could always come back if he wanted to. Like, I think might be a slight misconception to what people think happened to SUC is like Blizzard through Fuel essentially had him benched for some time, and then Fuel just decided to drop him because they thought he was unreliable because he kept on getting benched because of official punishments. And so I think that pretty much if he just reformed his attitude, he'd come back. But it also doesn't excuse, like, I don't care if you think Blizzard's policy is not good, like their PR policy and how people deal with things, and like you think XQC was treated unfairly. That's just life. If you're working a job, you can't just continually violate policy and be like, well, that policy is dumb, and then expect to have the job. It's just not going to work, especially when you're a public figure. Everything you do is magnified times 10. And so you're like, I don't know what he expected to happen or what anyone else expected to happen differently in those circumstances.
Mhm.
So I would say it was harsh, but warranted. And I would hope that he could come back.
Yeah.
I think for him, it was like really hard to balance out what he wanted to do because like he wanted to play, but he also wanted to stream. And like for me, streaming was really hard in like season 1. Like during the season, it felt like I was always busy, like scrims or VOD review. And then ICC would literally like come home from like 8 hours of scrimming, he'd eat, and then he'd stream for like 9 hours and get like 3 hours of sleep. And yeah, it's just like really, it like takes a toll on like everything. Like you have like lower energy, you have like you're just more frustrated, you're like, I don't know, like just not getting sleep is so unhealthy for you. And when you're consistently getting like a few hours of sleep every day while like playing a game like Overwatch, it can kind of boom.
Yeah, head
And-
boom for sure.
Yeah, boom. But
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. What's some other questions you have, Ghost?
So, who do you think is going to be on the Team South Korea for 2019?
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it's way too early. to
Profit.
tell.
Maybe
Yeah,
Profit.
Definitely Profit.
Maybe Profit. I think that depending on how Roar plays, Roar could actually earn a spot. I think Fury will still be there. I think Onimo will be there. I think Jonak will likely be there still. Fleda will probably be there still. Decay could earn a spot. I think like the two people that pretty much could supplant anyone are Roar and Decay, and then maybe if they choose to bring in Profit because they never really gave him a chance this season, I believe.
Profit is the
Yeah,
best.
they didn't really. They didn't do trials. They just picked random people. Well, not
Yeah.
random. They picked who they thought would be good.
Yeah.
I think DPS are like completely up for grabs, but then like because there's so many talented Korean DPS players, but I think Jonak might like I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone will surpass Jonak, but right now he's like definitely the best flex support in the world. And Onimo/Arc, I think they're two top main supports. I don't really know who compares with them because I think main support's a hard role to compare, especially if we aren't on the team, because a lot of it is internal stuff, I think. But I think those roles will be solid. Maybe Fury will be on it next year. Maybe it'll be Meko or maybe Choi. Like Choi is really good.
That's
and
true. There's Choi.
really underlooked this season.
Yeah, I didn't think about.
Oh,
Choi.
and Violet as well for Jonak.
Oh.
I think Violet actually could potentially take the spot from Jonak if he pops really hard
Wow.
pops.
And then like
I think
apparently
Bedosian too.
Krillin is supposed to be really good. Yeah, Bedosian, like there's a lot of good players, and who knows how season 2 will go. It could be like
Yeah, there's a lot of competition for the 2019 South Korean World Cup team. I really do hope they do trials this time rather than just
Yeah.
picking who they think would be best. But thank you for coming on here, Ghost. We appreciate your questions.
Right, thanks, Michael.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Oh crap.
Oh,
He's gone.
He's
I
gone.
couldn't
think he's
say
gonna
bye to
you
him.
guys.
Bye, scuffed forehead guy.
All right,
Scuffed
guys.
forehead.
So we're going to be bringing on the other guest, or the next one. We have Puma, and again, this is brought to you guys by BeLive TV. Very cool program, allowing the viewers to come on and talk to the guests. So let's bring him on up. And boom, there he is. What's up, Puma?
Whoa.
What's up, guys? So I had a couple questions for you guys today. One specifically for Dante. What do you think of our state, Chicago, not the third most populated city in the U.S., not having an Overwatch League team yet?
I think it's really hard because there's a lot of really big cities and like I don't think like there's many Europe, like it's only Paris, right? For Paris and London for Europe, and I'm sure there's really big European cities.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, I guess Canada has 2 spots now, but then like there's also like Overwatch is really big in South America, and like there's no Brazil team or anything, and that kind of sucks. But I think eventually there could be one. It sucks that like my hometown doesn't have one, and your hometown. It's just like unfortunate, but I think there's a lot of places that could deserve one, and
Oh yeah,
maybe one day.
one day. All right. What do you guys think the best thing to do to Brig would be to make the game more balanced for like this for everybody?
I think the nerfs that are coming in right now are good to like make her kind of weaker, but she's still really strong in Goats comp because it doesn't address her problems. I think the biggest problem right now is her rally. It is super strong, especially for heroes like Zen and Zarya. Because once Zen gets armor, he is better than every single DPS in the game. Especially when you have players like Badoshin, Jonak, Violet, like all these good Zenyatas. Like they just actually own. And even in ranked, like if you're playing any DPS hero, it's hard to beat a 1v1 with the Zen that has 275 or wait, how much is it? 250 or 350 armor? I don't even know how
Yeah,
much.
it goes to
Something like
350
that.
health
350.
plus like 75 armor. So
And then like they get an E, and then that's another 75 HP.
Yeah.
And then the armor is like extra health because armor has damage reduction. So heroes like Tracer do like half the damage. Diva does like half the damage. Like any low damage hero does way less damage. So it makes it like really limit what you can play.
yeah, I could agree with Dante with both those. I think that a big thing is that it's nice that her shield bash isn't like she doesn't insta kill Tracer anymore, and she doesn't just like make Ryan's life like living hell as much. That they changed the barrier things, but at the end of the day, when you have a character that can stun and can give instant, because also the big thing is like I think so. I guess we're just gonna put on what I think should be nerfed. E, the ability to give people plus 75 armor or plus 75 health, and the rest gets converted to armor instantaneously. Any sort of burst heal makes a character really, really, really good in Overwatch, where burst healing is the most important thing in the game. Like sustain heals are nice, but burst heals are like literally the most important thing. And 2, I would say that putting her shield bash on a longer cooldown, since it's like what 5-6 seconds less.
No. Wait.
What's the cooldown on her shield bash?
It's 8 seconds now.
Is it 8 seconds now? Did they increase it?
Yeah, a while ago.
Oh, did they? Okay, well I'm just dumb. So never mind. So I guess then in that case, since 8 seconds I think is actually relatively fair. I guess her E should be. It should either have a longer cooldown or should do like less overall healing, or it should, and also you need to change her rally again because, like Dante said, armor is like nuts. It stops Tracer, it stops Sombra, stops Diva in a lot of ways. It stops Genji too. Sometimes like it's just like so much extra like health mitigation, and also it just makes like ults that are good against tank comps like EMP weaker because you have armor and armor doesn't go away once you EMP.
I also don't think like it's kind of silly. Brig counters like all these heroes, but like you would think that Sombra would be good against her, but like Sombra is like only okay against her because when you hack a Brig, she still has her heals on. Like she still heals everyone around them, and that's like I think it makes like EMP kind of weak because like if you EMP them, they're still getting their Brig heals, like, and then the Brig is still like swinging at you doing damage. So Brig still like does so much. Like even when she's hacked, she does a lot, and I think it's really dumb because Lucio doesn't heal when he's hacked. Like,
Which is
Genji
bullshit.
Can't climb Genji can't climb walls when he's hacked. But then like Brig, this like hero that's been busted since release, can still like heal while hacked, whereas like none of the other heroes can use their passives. And then like you can there's like you cancel some ults with your hack. Like you can cancel like high noon and stuff. I guess those are because you can stun them. But like it's kind of weird that Bridge can continue to use rally while she's hacked. Like there's no counterplay to it. But then like Lucio beat, you can EMP it off. Like, it's just really weird. I don't know why they like made her so strong against Sombra.
Yeah. I definitely like the nerfs coming in though. I think it'll be good for the game. Thank you for coming on, Puma. We're gonna go ahead and move over to Discord now.
All right.
So, you have a good day, Puma. Thank you.
Bye, Puma.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You have a sweet name.
Of course. All right, so it's going to be a little scuffed now, guys, since the rest of our viewers that did win a chance to come talk to us do not have a webcam, so they can't come on the BeLive program yet. We're going to go ahead and hop on the Discord, so I'll have Avast and Dante, you guys go ahead and join that Discord. I'll move you down to the Talk Show Questions channel.
All right.
And then we will move them in. All right, Avast, talk real quick, just to make sure we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, there we go. So we're going to be moving on, or actually I got to share it. Hold on. Again, as I said, guys, this part's a little bit scuffed. Go ahead and unmute that. Now the stream should be able to hear us all on Discord. Let's go ahead and move in our next guest. We have Proven Frog coming in. How you doing, Proven Frog? If you could mute the stream for us, Proven. There we go. Welcome. Yeah, I'm reading that too. It should be hearing it now. Hold on. Okay, I don't. It must not be working still. Let's try this then.
Avast, just start mouthing words.
No, okay. What we're gonna have to do is, well, I'm just gonna have to say the questions for him. So, Proven Frog, we're just gonna go ahead and have you type the questions up for me, and then I'll read them to Dante and Avast on the broadcast. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So we can go ahead and disconnect off that Discord channel now. A little scuffed, guys. As I said, it's better if the viewers that want to come on, if you guys have a microphone and a webcam, so it's easier to connect to the program.
Wait, what's going on?
We have the first question coming in. Proven Frog is asking, what was it like to play on the San Francisco Shock? Did you have any players you really were good friends with, Dante?
I loved everyone on Shock. Like I'm good friends with everyone on the team. Like Super, Sleepy, Architect, Sinatra, Baby Bay. Like everyone was like super nice, and I don't know. I'm just glad I was on a team with them all because I'm good friends with them still. Like hanging out with them is always fun now. Playing with them was really fun. I think like just living with them and like being on the team with them was like even more fun because everyone has such good personalities. But yeah, really thankful I got to play with all of them.
Awesome. Okay, and then the second question Proven Frog has, which is a really good one, I think, is the new contenders format changes better for developing talent?
Interesting. Don,
Yeah.
you want me to answer this?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll go. Yeah, since everyone just wants to ask Dante because he's so interesting and pretty and cool. So,
Still in the Overwatch League.
I think, yeah, that's also true. Let's see. I think that the contenders format is better than it was before, but it's not like ideal. It obviously restricting imports for like contenders, I think, is a good idea because you want to develop as much local talent as possible. Generally through your academy systems, which is pretty much what contenders is an academy system. and you don't want it just to like, well, we don't want to feel like we don't feel like developing Western players, so we're just gonna import a bunch of Koreans and fill them with our contenders teams, and we're gonna move up Koreans, and then we're just gonna continue to just like have Korea pump out a bunch of players, and we're gonna have like minimal Western development. So I think imports are good for the academy scene, just so they're forced to at least develop some NA/EU players. But I don't like the elimination of LAN format for like finals and things like that. I talked about it like a while ago, but NA has always been an inherent disadvantage for for developing talent comparatively to Korea since the beginning of Overwatch and even just in the wider esports culture, because it's so cheap to make a LAN. It's so easy to run a LAN in Korea comparatively. And it's a lot tougher in Europe and North America. So not having LANs and not being able to develop yourself consistently on a LAN client and in a LAN environment, you produce a lot better players in Korea than you do in NA and EU because of that. Also because of like various cultural regions, but like just having consistent competition like Apex has always put NA and EU at a disadvantage, because there's at one point for like 8 months where the game was dead, where there was no tournaments going on. But you know what was happening? Apex was going on still, and Apex was still turning out players and staff. And so I think LAN is still integral to Europe and North America, especially North America, because like this season, I don't. People will see is like there's been a relatively decent amount of European talent that's actually recruited for this upcoming season of Overwatch League, but there was like no NA players that were picked up at all, really comparatively. And it's not necessarily going to get any better without. It will get better now that import limits are in place, but it won't necessarily get any better unless there are LANs, in my opinion. I think LANs are like super, super important to actually really help even out the process.
Yeah. It really helps develop a player, and it's tough, especially when there's only one LAN event. It's the grand finals. Only 2 teams make it, right? It doesn't really give anybody a chance to become LAN proven and show what they can do in the Overwatch League. So it is tough for the European and North American contender scene, in my opinion, as well. So I think that was a good question. Let's go to move on now to our next guest, which was Quicksilver. And his first question is, how much of an importance do you think Sombra has on the next meta? I guess that's a good one for you, Dante.
That's for Dante. Yeah, that's a Dante question.
I think the next meta might just be Goats again, because I think Goats is still really strong since they didn't really address the problem. The problem, like, they changed their shield bash, but I don't really think that was the problem with Goats. Like, yeah, you can like one-hit tracers and most DPS. Maybe you won't be able to do that now, but I think the problem is that none of the DPS are good against that comp. Like, all flankers are bad because of Brig. Like, you just don't do any damage. Brig heals, Lucio heals, and Zen heals. Like, it's just, you can't do enough damage to that comp. So all flankers are pretty bad. Hit scan just isn't good because they have like Ryan Shield or Winston or Diva. Like, they just have so much to like mitigate you. And then also high burst damage heroes like Junkrat and Pharah aren't good because Diva is just so strong. So nothing, like, there's just no ideal DPS versus Goats. So I think Goats will still be really strong, especially since they nerfed Doomfist, which he wasn't seeing any play in pro scrims at all. Like, it's just literally perma Goats every single map. Maybe there's a couple maps where you try like Sombra or Pharah or Doomfist, or you just try it and like hope it'll work just to test it out. But normally it's just perma Goats. So yeah, I don't think Sombra will be too strong next meta, but after Goats is gone, like maybe in a patch or two, maybe 2 patches, 3 patches, hopefully by Owl, I think Sombra could be strong. I think a lot of heroes will be strong. I think most DPS are in a really good spot, but Goats comp is just too strong. Like,
Yeah.
And I want to add to that, Michael. I want to add. I'm going to die upon this hill. I will die upon this hill, and I will say that Brig is a problem, but the real problem with Goats is Diva. It's always been Diva. It will be Diva for eternal until Diva is changed. Because, like Dante said, you can't play Junkrat Pharah, which are 2 of the best counters. Because, like, when you get your Predator missile with Junkrat, it's like insta death for Goats. But you can't play Junk because all of his damage gets eaten, and Diva can even kill the tires because she's just like insane. You can't play hit scan because you can't sit on high ground because now you can play Winston, Diva, Hammond even. So like, and then Diva will just fucking ram into you and just one clip you really fast. Like, and then you can't play. Doomfist got nerfed before. The only realistic DPS combination you could play was Sombra Doom, but then Doom got nerfed, and still at the end of the day, it's not the perfect counter. but I realistically think that GOATs will not really go away unless they drastically nerf a bunch of heroes, including Brig, or if they just nerf one hero, which is D.Va. And D.Va, if once D.Va is gone, I think you see a lot more variety in compositions and less strength of GOATs. But until then, D.Va's just going to continue being a fucking menace, and we won't look at it. But I think we should, 100%. And I will die on that hill.
I think there's a lot of hit scan players on that hill with you. D.Va's definitely been a nuisance for a while. I think it's been like 2 years since she's been just 100% meta. So the D.Va nerf would be interesting, but that's it for Quicksilver. Thank you for the questions. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now we have Ari, who asked, what do you think the strongest team is going to be in Season 2?
I think it's hard to say. As I don't think there will be a really strongest team. Like last season, Season 1, it seemed like NYXL, it was obvious that NYXL was dominant the whole actual season. Unfortunately, they lost in playoffs, which kind of sucks for them. But they definitely, they definitely dominated. Just what's it called? The season.
Regular season.
The regular season.
Yeah, regular season.
Yeah, they dominated the regular season, but I'm not sure if it'll be like that anymore because I think a lot more teams are catching up. Like Valiant was a really strong team. You can expect them to do well. NYXL, you'll expect to do well. London, you'll expect to do well. All these teams you can expect to do well. Maybe more teams will climb up there. Maybe Shock will be a really good team. Maybe Outlaws will be a really good team. Maybe Gladiators will be a really good team. There's so many teams that have the potential to be a top team. But I don't think any will be way up there like last season.
Okay. What do you think of Avast?
I mean, I agree with him that the talent is evened out a little bit more, but I still think the strong teams are going to be pretty strong. I don't think London, unless London is just garbage at GOATs, I don't think London is going to stop being good. But I have a hard time believing London will be bad at GOATs, though there is certainly some instances where you see like Korean Winston players that were born in dive meta, like Gesture, that sort of don't have as strong as Ryan. Which is I think a classic problem with what Gamsu had with Boston is that Gamsu could not play Ryan. Could not. It's it was not possible for us to play we could, because it just wasn't a hero he was familiar with, and our team wasn't, and the meta the team hadn't formed in any sort of static tank heavy meta. So it's interesting to see what will happen. I think if GOAT is still meta, I think Vancouver, which is supposedly potentially, just like Corey is potentially in DC, Vancouver could potentially be really good since they're runners. They're good at running, and they're doing it away. So I think that Vancouver could actually be really good if GOAT is still meta. I think I don't think it's tough to tell because I think there's you just haven't seen a lot of these teams play GOATs. I actually think Paris, if GOATs meta stays, I actually think Paris could be really good in the GOATs meta because all of Europe and pretty much all their talent they picked up, aside from Soon and Eco, have just been just sitting in the shallow water of GOATs and just splashing each other for a million years now, and they're just gotten really good at it. And as we saw at World Cup, USA was we're so good at GOATs, we don't, we're fucking beast, and then they just got dumpstered, actually dumpstered. And
true,
that's not necessarily that USA was the players are bad. I just think people underestimated how good EU is at GOATs in particular. It's just a meta they've been really fucking good at, and they've been playing it forever. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Paris performs if GOATs is still meta. And like I said, I think Vancouver, and if London and NYXL doesn't just shit the bed, I think they both still be really strong. So
okay, transition into the next question you had, which was very similar. Who do we think will be the weakest team next season? Do we think we have another Shanghai Dragons situation with any of the teams?
No, that's not possible.
No?
It's not possible.
I think it's really hard to tell too. Maybe there will be one, but we won't be able to know until halfway through the season.
If you just had to throw one team under the bus, who would it be?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say it's legitimately impossible for another Shanghai to ever exist. That was actually the holy trinity of impossible things happening with Shanghai, where you have shitty management, or not shitty. That's too harsh. I get players that weren't ready for Overwatch League, and the fact that no one can speak to each other because they're not using the same language. So I think that that's unlikely to ever be seen again in a team that's that much weaker that just goes, and also because there's not 40 games anymore, so no one can go 0-40 again. It's just not possible. But you could go like 0-26 or however much there is now or whatever. But I think Mayhem is a candidate because for being like low on the rankings, just because I'm like super underwhelmed with a lot of their pickups. And also they still have the same exact staff for the most part that they had last season. And there was a lot of problems there. And like, and the big thing that people overlook is like staff makes a huge difference. It really does. And there's not a lot of qualified staff, in my opinion, anywhere. Like always, there's like some better, some worse, and it's really tough to find the ones that you need because there hasn't been a lot of crossover in terms of like getting game knowledge to people that manage. So if they have the same staff that sort of helped foster a lot of their problems before, like what's going to change? Like what's the difference? Like what are they going to do? Unless they learn, they could learn, right, and grow. And also, there's still a chance that BBQ, whatever his name is, he's just going to get banned for like 3 stages like Sato was because he's a booster apparently. So like, I mean, and like that's the same way why I think it was a smart choice for D. I mean, it's just, I think Mayhem is a candidate, but I don't necessarily think it's like 100% like set in stone by any means. I think that I agree with Dante in that it's much more spread out, and like it'll be a lot tougher to really pick who's the winners and who's the losers. But Mayhem's just a candidate because it seems like they have all the same problems they had last season, but they've just replaced the faces. So,
okay. Sounds good. So thank you for the questions there, Ari. Now we're going to move on to the very last guest, which is Atheon. And he wanted to ask this. What are some tips to climb competitive ladder as a flex DPS player? He's in Platinum.
As a flex DPS player, you want to know what is good against the other team's comp and what is good on the map you're playing. So always try to be thinking what DPS will be best against their comp and what DPS fits the map well. Because obviously, Pharah could be really good against the other team's comp. Maybe not in this meta so much because Pharah's not that strongest meta. But you don't really want to play Pharah on a map like Gibraltar. Even though they don't have any hit scan, their tanks will still be able to do a lot because the high ground is just so high up and they're more effective against you than a hit scan would be on certain maps. So you just gotta think about those two things and you'll be able to succeed. And if you're not too sure, then try to look at flex players that stream and see what they swap to and try to determine why. Because a lot of people won't say why they swap. Like I don't really say why I'm swapping if I'm swapping, but try to think why. And some of them will be more straightforward, like, wow, they have a Hammond, he went Sombra, that's probably why. But some of them might not be so straightforward. Like an example of a not straightforward one is they're running Ana Brig. I swap Genji. It's like they have a Brig, why would I go Genji? But it's because they don't have a defensive ult. They don't have a Zen ult. They don't have a Lucy ult. So you just play to farm your blades, and you will have good blades normally because they don't have anything to counter it. So
okay,
so
swapping properly.
Yeah, just determine the other comp's weakness and then try to pick off of that.
I would like to recommend a streamer. EQO is really good for flex DPS. He talks a lot with his chat, and he'll tell you why he's swapping and stuff. So EQO can help you out a lot there. And then his last question was, how do you stay positive? What are some tips to, not get tilted?
Not me. That's all I've asked.
Oh, I'm the positive guy. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like there's only 2 approaches to staying positive. You can either accept that nothing matters and that everyone's just going to die in the end anyway, so like why are you going to get angry at rank? Like there's that method, or there's the method is like, I want to be positive because it helps improve my mindset, and if you're positive to your team and untilt your team, it makes them not tilt. So there's like the very pragmatic method where like you're trying to help everyone be positive and yourself, and it will improve your experience. And you're focusing on being positive, like you want to be positive, and just say like, it's just ranked. Like we have to be positive if we want to win. And if we don't tilt, because generally in ranked, honestly, at the end of the day, not always, but like 50% of the games are determined like who tilts first. And honestly, that might even carry over to the pro level. Honestly, it's like whoever tilts first loses, like almost all the time. Like your fucking 4200 player that's been playing Tracer and getting domed by Brig the entire game is like, I'm tilting, so I'm gonna go Torb now, and then we're gonna lose the game, right? Like, while the guy that's been playing like a 3800 player that's been like not doing as much, but he doesn't tilt, stays on his role, like you win. And so like there's that method, or there's the method where you just don't give a shit and you're like, it's just ranked. Like it's just ranked. Why should I be angry at it? And I should just accept that it's garbage, and like then I won't get mad, and then I'll play better. There's the only 2 ways. And then pretty much, I think I can't find any other methods. I haven't really looked too much into the intricacies of ranked, but I would say that that's probably the two best ways to do it.
I could agree. I think those are two really good ways. So that's going to be it pretty much for the guest portion of the show, guys. We are going to be bringing Super on here because he really wanted to come on. And of course, he almost came on. He almost came on because Dante was late about 10 to 15 minutes, but we got him here, which is awesome. So we are going to be bringing Super on here. Let's bring him up. By the way, again, thank you so much to BeLive for letting us use this amazing program. If you guys want to try it out, you can get a free trial. Go ahead and check it out at BeLive.tv. What's up, Super? How you doing?
Yo, what's up, dude? Yeah, Dante was in the shower for like, I don't know. I called him 3 times, and then he was like, "What do you want? I'm in the shower." And I was like, "Dude, you're late to your show." He's like, "What do you mean? It's at 4:30." I said, "Yeah, on Eastern time." He's like, "Oh fuck, I forgot."
Really good impression there, Super.
That was good.
I looked at my phone. I was like, "Oh, 4:30. We're chilling. We're actually chilling." And then we're not chilling.
So Dante was telling us that you and him were the duo over there on San Francisco Shock last season, just the dumb duo. You were living together.
I'm not stupid.
You guys were just doing
Yeah, he's
dumb
pretty
stuff.
stupid.
So tell me, Super, what's one of your guys' best and dumbest moments?
Huh.
Oh no.
Well, this isn't really like a. Actually, no, I'm gonna put this on Dante because like the first week I got there, they had milk in the fridge, so I was gonna go make some cereal, and Dante was with me, and I went to go pour out the gallon of milk, and it was so spoiled. It was basically yogurt at that point. I'm not even. I swear to God, I poured the cereal in the bowl, and it was just clumped out. I was like, "How long has this been in here?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I was like, "Dude, like," and then I don't even know.
Dante,
Yep.
when's the last time you went in your fridge and made some food instead of ordering takeout?
I had cereal yesterday.
That's not making food, Dante. Pouring a bowl of cereal is not cooking. That's not cooking.
Were they Lucio's?
No, they weren't. It's
Ah.
a bunch of oats with strawberries.
I'm going to submit a dumb Super and Dante moment, by the way. These guys did never lock their door once, ever, at any point. I lived in the same complex to them towards the end, like at the end, like playoffs, when I had moved from the Boston apartments, and I would literally just walk into their apartment all the time. I would just straight up just walk across the complex and just walk in every single day, and they wouldn't know that anyone was there. If they could have been robbed blind for fucking
But
every
we
day.
weren't. So
And yeah, because
But we
no
weren't.
one would expect anyone to be dumb enough to just leave their door unlocked all the time, literally all the time.
Okay, Avast, think about how much time you save by not locking the door.
I don't know. It's like 2 seconds.
What?
It's like
In a-
2 seconds, Dante.
In a year, how much time do you save by not locking your door?
At max, like 5 minutes at max, and that's over a whole year. If I was an immortal being and I lived for eons, then yeah, maybe the time would add up. And
okay,
like,
to be fair, Vast, I started locking the door. If I didn't lock it, it wasn't locked. But
Yeah. That's a.
Hey, I respect it, Dante. Time management. That's efficiency right
that's
there.
not time management.
that is not time management. That's
Nah,
not.
it's
It's
time
definitely
management.
not. That is the
Right,
definition
Dante?
of bad.
Also, he has no sense of urgency, by the way. We could be 10 minutes late to something. He'll be like slowly coming out of his room, slowly putting on his shoes. I'm like, dude, let's go. And he's like, what? Like, he literally takes his time. It doesn't matter how late we are.
All right, I got one more question for you, Super. Are you gonna miss Dante?
Am I going to miss him? No. Get him out of my face.
What?
Wow, that
That's
was
That's
brutal. Dante, are you gonna miss Super?
Yeah, I will.
Aw.
Aw, well, now I feel bad.
Aw.
Well, now I feel bad.
Well, now
Do you want to
kiss.
change your answer, Super?
Actually.
Do you want to be wholesome for the stream?
Do I want to be?
Wow,
Eh,
just-
sure. I'll miss Dante. I'll
There
miss
we go.
Dante.
I was about to say,
Okay.
not to be so fucking awkward.
My new apartment door auto locks. So.
Oh,
GG.
wow. Is it
Wow.
like a automated thing or whatever? Like
It's like a scanner.
That's a
Yeah,
classic
yeah.
bougie Houston amenity right there.
Yeah.
They made sure that Dante wouldn't have to fuck it up, and so he couldn't get robbed. So they just put an auto lock there.
Yeah.
That's how they did it. They were smart. Anyways, thank you guys for everybody coming on here. If you guys want to shout out your Twitters or wherever anybody can follow you, go ahead. You can start off with Vast.
Yeah, I guess it's unfortunate because I have on my Twitter name, it's not the same actually Avast, but it's Avast_O because there's the Avast Internet Security Company. So don't follow them. Follow Avast_O on Twitter unless you want internet security updates, in which case do follow them. And then Avast_O for Instagram as well. And then I think it's like and I have all my other shit linked on there. So those are really the only two that matter, is Instagram and Twitter. So just go
No,
check
subscribe to his YouTube. Your YouTube channel is amazing.
Yeah, well, I have the YouTube link on the Twitter channel, so you can go there
Perfect.
too, where I make poorly edited videos.
Better than mine. All right, Dante, what about you?
You can follow my MySpace, dcruise34 kappa. No, none of that. My Twitter is just Dante with an H at the end, so DANTEH. That's my Twitter.
Awesome. And Super, we're gonna have you on next week, so we'll save your shout out for that one, okay?
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So
nice. I like you instantly removed him. That was a power play from you. I like that. Get fucked.
Yeah. Brought to you by BeLive TV, boys. Deleted Super off the screen. So again, I want to say thank you to you guys. If there is anything you want to say, feel free to say anything.
Thank you for having me, Michael. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun, guys.
And talking to the people.
Yeah, it was awesome. How did you guys like that feature, bringing on the viewers?
I think it was cool.
I thought it was a good feature.
Remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was his forehead like pressed up against the mic like this. I thought it was like that. I thought that's what he was fucking doing. I was like, what is this? I'm getting trolled.
Yeah, that was a broken webcam. But all right, guys, thank you very much. And a real quick shout out again to BeLive.tv for letting us use this amazing program, allowing us to bring on the guests. If you guys do want to come on next week, talk to me, Super, or the other guests we decide to get on, all you have to do is follow me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting out random questions, and if you answer it first and correctly, you'll get a chance to come on. You will need a webcam and a microphone. So yeah, thank you again. Shout out to BeLive.tv, guys. Go check it out. Go start your own talk show. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys.
Peace out.
Peace.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.